Alright, YouTube, it appears that Hillary Clinton is still suffering from an enthusiasm gap. I've seen this online. You don't even need to look at, the subject of this video is one of her rallies. Apparently she was showing up late, and so people got bored and left. I'm not sure that they would do that at one of Trump's rallies because they tend to be, literally speaking, more high energy. Tend to be about 10 times larger. Trump is holding twice as many rallies, sometimes 3 times as many, depending on month-to-month, week-to-week basis. Hillary Clinton's enthusiasm appears to be lower even online. That is, with the exception of some people that I can tell, I know for certain they're using scripts. I haven't encountered still that many Clinton fans. I've encountered a few finally, nobody that I know personally. I can't think of a single person that I know that is supporting Hillary Clinton other than a couple of people who simply think that Trump's the devil. I know plenty of Trump fans, I know plenty of Johnson fans, I know plenty of Jill Stein fans, I know plenty of people who are so bitter at our election system they plan to stay home and not vote. But I don't know anybody who started out as, yeah, I'm with her, and remains so, and they're excited. I know a couple of people who were Sanders fans and jumped aboard with the Hillary Clinton campaign just because they happen not to like Trump. I don't expect that most of them will even end up casting a ballot. I think this is going to destroy her in the general election, by the way. I think when November comes, you'll find a large proportion of her supporters never show up. I think that you could end up with turnout for the Democrats that's lower than what they sometimes get in the midterms, which would cripple them. Some of those down-ballot Democrats need higher turnout, too, in order to actually be elected. So what apparently happened here is that Hillary was, going to show up late or something. A whole bunch of people abandoned the rally, and it looks like there are a couple hundred people at most. And there are a couple of, young sort of Clinton volunteers trying to get people energized, link in the description. It doesn't work too well. People are just sort of standing around, I guess, waiting for Hillary Clinton and pretending that they're not bored to tears. Have you seen this happen at a Trump rally? No, you haven't. That's kind of the point. While you can say Trump and Clinton have about even numbers of supporters overall, polling-wise, unless you believe in the Karl Rove ideology of unskewed polls, which I happen not to. If you look at the actual groundswell of support, it's almost all in favor of Trump. There simply aren't that many people. The Democrats rely upon having a large proportion of the younger voters energized for their campaign. Partially they do this by saying the Republicans are going to come for your college grants, the Republicans are going to come for gay marriage, they're going to come for abortion, and they're just going to turn us into a backwards dystopia or something. Part of it's propaganda. Part of it's just generational. That is for those that are, I guess, Gen Xer level, younger Gen Xers, older millennials. The Democrats were kind of the cool party. But that's changed now because their figurehead is less socially progressive than Obama, certainly than Sanders. Was eclipsed by Sanders. The fact that Sanders jumped in did irreparable harm to Clinton's campaign because of the contrast for several months drawn between the two. You had Sanders saying, yes, we're going to be socialists, we're going to have free everything, free stuff, trademark 2016 Bernie Sanders. Clinton, meanwhile, was talking about, maintain the status quo, everything's fine, yeah, we should kill people overseas, we'll raise taxes a little bit, we'll see what we can do with student loans. And that's all she's talked about. She hasn't yet, by the way, this is going to become an increasing problem for her over the next month too, I think. She hasn't actually proposed any single central plan that she's running on. It's not like Obama with Obamacare, which at first, at least among his partisan supporters, was popular. When it became clear it wasn't working, it became wildly unpopular and still largely is in most parts of the country, especially now that the ACA is being abandoned by half the companies that endorsed it originally because they realize it doesn't work. And they helped write it, so it's their own fault, largely. But I guess they're not too happy with the plan that they largely created in the first place. It seems not to be working for them. I don't know why. Could it be because it's a hideous gorgon that's somewhere in the middle between a free market and central planning, and this doesn't typically work in a real-world economy? Maybe in Victoria, too, it's fine, but in the real world, interventionism doesn't work so well. But Clinton hasn't actually created any central plan other than maybe a ground war in Syria and a ground war in Iran. Those really are the things that she suggested that are central plans for her. It's all pro-war policy. So the younger voters that are required to energize the Democratic ticket simply aren't there. A lot of them have jumped ship to third parties, have become so bitter they're not going to vote, are going to vote for Trump out of spite, or are technically on board with her. They'll vote for her, but they're not going to campaign for her. They're not going to go to a rally. They're not going to go out and sign people up to vote. They're not going to do anything like that because they're simply not energized enough. And I see increasingly, I have a feeling that the generation coming after the millennial generation is going to be even more right-wing than this generation is slowly becoming because we've been abandoned by the Democrats. The Democratic Party abandoned us, not the other way around. They abandoned us when they basically decided to ignore every promise that they made in 2008 when we were coming off of an extreme warmonger in W, someone who helped cripple the economy. Things were supposed to improve, and what was done did not improve things for most people. The elitist sort of stooges within the Democratic Party can take up the talking point that everything has become magically better. But there are still a lot of people who used to be in the middle class who now are working at Wendy's and drawing food stamps. There are still a lot of people who ended up just saying fuck it and retiring early, even though they don't have quite enough to get by, because they figured it'd be better than launching back into a great crusade to find a minimum wage job when they're competing with 5 or 6 people with master's degrees. There's a person here, name won't be mentioned, in Rutland who has a PhD and works at Walmart. That's not an improved economy. I hate to say it, but that's a complete and utter lie. It only looks good on paper because jobs came back, but they're all minimum wage jobs for the most part. A lot of the people that were dispossessed of their positions never got a good paying job back. They also end up paying an inordinate amount out in taxes. Clinton certainly is not going to help them. And it's the economy, stupid, is still in play, even with younger voters. I will disagree with some of those far to the right on this. I don't think the youth is as dumb as you think they are. They know full well what money entails. Some of them, yes, they're going to try to vote for student loan relief, which will never actually happen on a Clinton ticket. They need to, by the way, understand this. If you're a younger voter, you need to understand. Much like Obama claimed he would close Guantanamo Bay, he claimed that he wasn't a warmonger and then wanted to bomb Assad's forces, and Clinton has openly alluded to wanting to do this, by the way. Just because Clinton is proclaiming that she intends to dissolve all student debt, so you won't have any, she's never going to do that. Just like, I'll stop Citizens United, we'll get rid of it. Number one, she doesn't have the unilateral capability of doing that. It would require the consent of Congress because it would require a constitutional amendment. It was a Supreme Court decision. A bad one, but a Supreme Court decision. Number one, she'd require Congress to work with her. Never going to happen. They're not going to cut off their own balls as far as funding goes because all of those people took corporate funding, especially Hillary Clinton. Number two, there would be no reason for her to seek that form of reform because it would empower third parties to operate on an even keel. Getting rid of the PACs and super PACs would dismember the Democratic and Republican parties. I don't expect, even if Trump is elected, will he go after it? Probably not. Maybe as a legacy move, he may try something. May try to reform it. May try to block it out with a constitutional amendment, just for his ego's sake, because he wants people to applaud him. But the odds aren't good no matter who wins, honestly. Gary Johnson wouldn't go after it. He's talking about, corporations are people. No, they're not, but okay, if you think you're a libertarian for saying so. Had some idiot claim that it was a free speech issue. It's not a free speech issue. It's an issue of limitless funding from corporations, as opposed to businesses that actually produce things. We're talking about a bunch of multinational, we're talking about Walmart and shit like that being able to pump unlimited told untold billions into political campaigns. It's crap, honestly. It has nothing to do with the First Amendment. I don't see political donations as a form of speech. It's a form of political donations. A little bit different than, again, the printing press or using the internet or something. Support a candidate verbally all you want in whatever media you want to do that. That's perfectly fine for a corporation to do. But the donation side has nothing to do with the Constitution beyond a bad Supreme Court decision that will have to eventually be destroyed by the Constitution being expanded in a convention. So yeah, Clinton suffers from a severe enthusiasm gap. Trump increasingly is attracting the younger voting base too, which is something that no Republican since Reagan has really made any significant inroads into. He's already made a significant inroad. Not a majority of the youth, but it's a sizable enough chunk to probably flip the election for him. And I think there is something to be said. There is a good possibility that there are millions of silent Trump supporters that poll for Clinton or Johnson or something like that because they don't want to admit that somebody that the media has branded as the next Adolf Hitler is the candidate that they support. They don't see it that way, but they're not willing to debate the point. They'd be considered soft supporters. Some of them won't show up. But I don't expect that many of Hillary Clinton's supporters, some millions of people, will abandon her at the polls. She also hasn't done that good a job of scaring her own voters. The Democrats rely typically upon a lot of fear-mongering. So do the Republicans in some elections, in order to scare minorities of various types into believing that if the opponent wins, they will be, sent off to a gulag somewhere or something like that. They haven't done a good, effective job because they don't have the youth to help them do that in an organic sense online. You look online, Clinton has very little presence outside of her own accounts. Trump is basically all-encompassing no matter where on the internet you happen to go. Mainstream media, whenever they talk about Trump, and usually it's something negative, they're still talking about him. As far as Clinton goes, unless it's an unavoidable scandal, like the Clinton Foundation having to quietly refile 3 years of tax documentation because they fudged it all and didn't pay enough. Other than that, the media doesn't even really talk about Hillary Clinton, unless they're applauding something that she has said, often undeserving of applause. But no, don't think that Clinton's going to fulfill her campaign promises, and the youth is smart enough to understand this. And that's why they're not enthusiastic about her. It doesn't help that she's 3 times their age. She's almost 70 years old. She's just not captivating them. The Republican ticket is using policy to drive youth appeal, and it's working to some extent. The Democratic Party usually uses charisma or personality to do that, and more of an emotional appeal. This is the interplay between, I guess, the general strategies in a stereotyped and very generalistic manner. That's what happens of the two-party system. So-called. It's really a one-party system for the most part, let's face it. But she's not doing that. She has the personality of a wet rag. She has the youth appeal of, I don't know, some band from the 50s that still plays its one-hit wonder or something like that. And that's basically what she is. She's from friggin' the Bing Crosby generation, practically. It's very, very funny to see her pretend to be a cool kid. I half expect her at one of these rallies to come out on a skateboard with a boombox on her shoulder and a baseball cap turned backwards on her head and start ranting and trying to rap or something like that to try to drum up youth appeal. Almost like it's better to be cringeworthy in an attempt to do so than not to make the attempt in the first place. We saw that like Clinton meme video that was there, the dank memes video a while, I think that was like a month ago. It sums up Clinton's campaign pretty well. She is constantly trying to be one of the cool kids. She doesn't realize that the 90s are long dead. They're long past. And people aren't that nostalgic for the 90s either anymore. For a while there, people were quite nostalgic for them. I didn't understand why, other than like Pokemon. Who gives a fuck about the 1990s? Okay, maybe some of the rock and roll was better. Not quite so much crap hip-hop on the pop station, which is very funny that it's there in the first place. But, no. Clinton's rallies are basically like looking at a graveyard. Nobody's excited for her. A lot of you probably don't even know a single person who is. For you in the United States, I know the media in an all-encompassing manner is constantly talking about how she's so qualified. I don't see it that way, though. I see her as remarkably unqualified because she only ever held one elected office, and it was marked primarily by her one major vote, which was in favor of the Iraq War. That's not the kind of experience, really, that I think would qualify you for that office. That's about all. Peace out.